Is 2025 a good time to buy a home in Sacramento, California? In this video, we're going to talk about resale numbers. We're going to talk about new homes. We're even going to bring you a builder that's offering a 1.99 interest rate buy down. That's right, guys. You can have 1.99 for your first year. It's a crazy buy down that they're offering. We're going to dive into that as well too. Also, we're going to break out the statistics towards the end of the video. We're going to dive deep into the numbers specifically for the Sacramento metro area. Let's dive into it with good friend of mine, fellow realtor Sam Golovey. Hey Sam, how's the market looking?
And so there's been definitely some slowdown, some markets definitely taking a hit, possibly even seeing some price declines. And then there's other markets that are still relatively strong and some homes even selling pretty quickly. So when I say it's a mixed bag, it's definitely a mixed bag and there's different opportunities out there right now.
I mean, for me, I'm seeing a lot of stuff that, it's not, there's inventory. I'm grateful for the inventory coming back, but I will say
Yeah.
that it's not the inventory that's making people jump out of their seats and jump in there and buy a house right now too. I think it's a mix of pricing, maybe a little too high. And I also think
Yeah.
there's a lot of houses that are just being thrown out there. What are you seeing?
Yeah, definitely a lot more listings coming on. And it's not always super desirable properties, right? But it really is neighborhood specific. Like we were talking off the air before this of some examples that we've had recently where clients really wanted a specific home. Maybe there was a house listed and not too many homes come up for sale in that neighborhood or are currently on the market. And then we get in a situation where it's a multiple offer bid situation where there's multiple offers coming in, possibly price, going out the list price or above the list price. Those situations are still happening. I was just telling you that we had a property that a client of ours was interested in Folsom. It's priced really well, about the 750 range, had a pool, wasn't necessarily updated. I mean, the interior was a little bit basic to say the least. It was like a 1990 home, but it was in a good location, not too many houses around. And then most importantly, it had a pool. And right now is the summer season, so everyone's looking for a pool. And I contacted them to check out the property. And unfortunately, it was only 4 days on the market, ended up with 5+ offers. And I'm sure that property is going to be closing over the list price. So again, Folsom, great location, had some desirable parts of that home, like the pool. And so there's still deals like that happening, which may confuse some buyers out there because they might be seeing some major news headlines or getting different reports out there that the market is crashing or things are just all in the red zone right now. But it's not entirely true. I would say it's very neighborhood specific, whereas there's sometimes not enough inventory in specific neighborhoods, and other cities and areas around the Sacramento region may have almost too much inventory to where those houses are sitting and taking a lot longer to sell, which makes the sellers a lot more negotiable as well. And you might see stuff like price cuts or incentives going on those houses.
Well, I think the heavy hitters that people know about, like outside the Sacramento area, like your Rosevilles, your Folsoms, your Elk Groves, your Grant Bay, some of those areas that have always been like, even like in East Sacramento, areas that
Hmm.
have, always historically been those spots that have like held their value, good appreciation, high demand. I still think those are the areas that people are still seeing, pricing aggressively. Those things will move. I think it's some
Hmm.
of the areas that maybe during times where buyers don't have a lot of options and they're kind of rediscovering Orangevale, like Citrus Heights, like
Yeah.
areas like that, all of a sudden those areas right now are getting softer. Like I'm seeing areas even like Arden Arcade that, historically good area, but at the same time, it's getting a little soft because now people are seeing that inventory that they like in East Sacramento. And also people maybe who are thinking to themselves, you know what? I'm thinking maybe Rancho, but they're seeing stuff in Folsom that might be interesting to them. And, so I see right now it's always those heavy hitters. It's the same kind of ones, right? Grant Bay, Folsoms, your El Dorado Hills, your Elk Groves, these Rocklands, these areas in Roseville, these areas that are known outside our metro area that people really, really like. And like I said, like
Hmm.
for me, what I'm noticing also is the home has to be dialed in, and it also really has to be in that community that people just haven't seen a whole lot of inventory pop up. And aggressive pricing for me always saves the day. Like, what would you say would be markets? You mentioned offline a couple markets and areas that you see as being soft right now.
Yeah, so there's a few various ones, and you mentioned some of the big hitters, like the common areas, zip codes that we get asked about all the time, or that a lot of people, focus on when they're moving to the Sacramento region, or maybe if they're local, they're really focusing on these areas, like Roseville, right? So there's parts of Roseville that there's not a lot of inventory. So we're focusing on that East Roseville side, pushing Granite Bay. There's a lot less inventory typically going on in that area. It's older, it's established. There's not really new construction going on, and it's closer to Granite Bay. Whereas if you go on the west side of Roseville, tons of new construction going on, and that's been happening over the years. So naturally, there's been a lot more building, a lot more homes on that west side. And because of that, more inventory is coming up. And if a seller, which I've had a few conversations with homeowners there recently who are looking to sell, when they are going to put their house on the market, they have to be considering that there is most likely a builder down the street from them or not too far off that has a comparable home to the one they're about to sell. And most people would consider going new versus the resale for different reasons. And so situations like that, when you're around a lot of new construction, could affect your pricing and make it a lot tougher to sell the home. So that's one thing to consider. Other areas and neighborhoods, for instance, I just had a conversation with the lady. She had her house listed for sale with another agent. They had a really tough time selling the property, and it was because, it was in Natomas, it was a condo, townhome type of situation, and a lot of listings came on the market right around them. So in that segment, that development. So first of all, she was competing with a bunch of her neighbors that wanted to sell in roughly the same price point. But on that note, too, this is something I mentioned earlier to you offline, is that they also had HOA fees going up dramatically for that little neighborhood. And because of that, it was disattracting a lot of buyers wanting to live there. And of course, just making it more unaffordable for buyers in general. So there's stuff like that in situations like that that could affect different neighborhoods and things of that nature. So that's just something to keep an eye on. There's certain neighborhoods and areas right now that just naturally have a lot more listings and inventory, and buyers might be seeing those price cuts or homes sitting a lot longer and may think that, I don't know if it's the time or not. I feel like sometimes, like, I can say this, like, with some of our clients that are actively shopping, when they feel like there's too many options out there, it kind of puts them in a situation where they want to keep waiting, almost like for something better to come on the market. And then if they're shopping in an area where there's not a lot of inventory, when something good does comes up, they usually jump on it. So I don't know. That's just something to consider, something that I've seen.
For me, the biggest question I'm getting is, should we wait? Are the
Yeah.
deals going to get better?
Right.
Is inventory going to pile up?
Hmm.
Are interest rates going to stay where they're at? Demand is seasonally low. And is this the time where we should be waiting for maybe the end of the year, when we know it's the slowest time in the real estate market, to jump in and buy? For me, like I said, I'm a big guy of like, time your life, don't time the market. If you find something you love, as long as you can afford it, eventually down the road, sometime you might be able to refi and you're good to go. For me, I think there's a lot of people that are sitting on that fence, kind of saying to themselves that, you know what, as the market progresses, it's only going to get better for the buyers. What do you say to your clients who are kind of like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one. I would say, based on what I just said earlier too, it's very reliant on the neighborhood and the area. If you are very specific on where exactly you want to live, maybe it's a very dialed gated neighborhood. I mentioned East Roseville in my previous example. An area like that with a very specific home, it's a little bit tough to find right now. Whereas maybe so in that situation, you may want to move on something sooner than later, because if the right house does pop up, you wouldn't want to miss out on that opportunity, because there's no promises that a house similar to that, if you have very specific criteria, like you need a pool or a certain size backyard, RV access, whatever it may be, there's no guarantee that is going to come on the market. But then other markets where you're seeing a lot of inventory already, then yeah, maybe later this year, it might even get better for you to strike up a deal, or at least kind of work a deal when there is more homes on the market. So I think it depends on the person and where they're buying. The other thing that's going to be hard to kind of like calculate for essentially is going to be the interest rates. We have no idea what the rates are going to do. I know there's a lot of projections out there, but it's one of those things, like, you can either take the rate now and, as you said, refinance down the road. Could they get worse? Very possible. Could they get better? Very possible. And so that's just something you need to consider as well, because there was people waiting, and there were moments in the market, even this last year, when rates took a dip and certain people that could have bought didn't take advantage of it. and now they're kind of still holding their hands wishing they did.
For me, like, I've seen that as well too. I've seen those little dips that happen during the course of the year. But I also think one of the things that at least I encourage all my clients is to work with us as far as comping out a property correctly. I think currently what we're seeing is that sellers, some of them sitting on 2.75s, are pricing a little higher than maybe they should. And I think that like pricing needs to be really assessed. Can't go on Zillow estimates, can't go on Redfin estimates. You have to know exactly what something is worth. Now, a lot of people are going to say, oh, eventually it'll reach that price anyways, but you don't want to have that situation where all of a sudden you see a price reduced by like $100,000 and you're thinking of it as it's, oh my gosh, a deal. Like it's just was reduced $100,000. But then you kind of realize the fact that they reduced it $100,000, but it probably should have been reduced maybe like $200,000. So I think pricing also is a big one. A lot of times for us, we talk to our clients and kind of talk to them a little bit and say, okay, like let's evaluate the seller. Let's think about what the seller looks like. Is the house lived in? Are they still living there? And then, we can get a lot from the seller's agent as well, too, as far as like what their situation is, if they're in a rush, if they're really like a motivated seller. I mean, all those things play so into the right strategy for this type of market. Because like I said, I mean, if you're barking up the tree of like, a seller that's sitting on a 2.75, you love the house, it's priced at 1.2, probably worth 1.1. I mean, it might not even be worth your time to even throw in an offer because that seller might just say, you know what, if I'm not getting 1.2, I'm going to live in my house and I'm good to go. What do you think of that?
Yeah, that's definitely a situation I've ran into a few times. People may be putting their house on the market and kind of just testing the market, and they may not even have the full motivation to sell, right? They're kind of like, well, if I get my price, then I'll move, right? It's kind of like a make me move strategy. But on the other end, there is a lot of people that are motivated in the market. I mean, even right now, like if you're considering that there's just so many more homes on a market in a neighborhood, let's say there's, let's just paint a picture here, like a seller, they are looking to move out of state, job relocation, maybe just, want to retire, whatever it may be. Now they want to sell their house. They got 3, 4, 5 other listings in the general area on the market around them. If they really want to sell, they're going to be pricing either really competitively or they're going to start becoming a lot more negotiable after some time. That's at least what I'm seeing in certain neighborhoods. Like I mentioned that West Roseville example earlier. If you have a home that's very comparable to homes around you that are ready for sale or the builder is building currently, you're going to be competing with that. It's going to be a lot tougher to get that property sold. So if you're a buyer that's looking to kind of decide whether you want to do it now or down the road, I think right now there's some great deals going on, and we'll maybe even get into some of the incentives that builders are offering if you did want to go new, because builders also want to hit their sales quotas. So there's a lot of motivation there as well right now. But yeah, you're going to run into those people who may have overpriced their home and they're kind of just like stuck with the low rate. They're not too worried about their payment. Maybe even their house is cashed out. That's not uncommon to see right now.
Now, if you can find though that seller that is in that situation where they're motivated, they need to sell. I mean, although these new home incentives are fantastic, if a house has been on the market for, let's say, 3 weeks, 2 months, whatnot, I mean, you could literally structure something where you put in a seller's credit. You basically can buy down your rate, and you're in sometimes you might be in even a community that you don't have HOAs or Mellorews. And so for me, there are definitely ways to take advantage of this resale market inventory
Yeah.
and not have to
Yeah.
deal with Mellorews, not have to deal with HOAs, get yourself an amazing house. But you got to definitely know the communities. You have to identify the seller. And I think you definitely need to work with a real estate professional that can help you do that, because you
Yeah.
can't just look at a house, see the price and say, let's go for it. There is a really solid strategy, and there's strategies that you need to kind of go into in this type of market to get you the best deal and to feel afterwards, you got yourself your house, that you really did okay in a market that probably a lot of people are telling you like not to buy. I mean, I'm guessing a lot of people are hearing those birds in the ear saying, don't buy, everything's crashing. The market is
Yeah.
going down. Wait,
Mhm.
you'll get everything half off. It's good to go. Now,
Yeah.
you mentioned something really interesting, new homes. So new homes are, there's talk on the street that new homes are hurting. We even heard pigs did fly. Lennar's actually co-oping with realtors, which is bizarre, but it does happen. So here's the thing. There are some great incentives in the new home market, right now, new home builders and everything too. August, we're going to see tariffs come into effect, and they're probably going to definitely affect new home prices. But then we're going to go into the slower time of the year for new homes, where in the past we've seen because of Q4, they want to get rid of inventory. A lot of people that I'm talking to are saying, you know what, we're going to wait. We think new homes are on the ropes. We think for the most part, they overbuilt. There's too many builders. And towards the end of this year, this is when we're going to strike. What would you say to those buyers?
Yeah, that brings up a pretty good point. So it just depends because some builders' fiscal year comes up earlier than the actual end of the year. And I just had that conversation with one of our big builders earlier today. And so there's still a lot of great incentives going on out there. If you guys have ever seen any of our videos, we cover a lot of the new home territories and developments. And because there's so much new construction going on, builders almost end up competing with each other in certain areas, which is great for us, especially for like first time home buyers or people who are really interest rate sensitive, because rates right now, I mean, we're pushing the high sixes on most loans. So you kind of have to take that into consideration. Like today, I'm working on a deal with the client who's looking to buy a new home in Elk Grove. And one of the builders is offering basically a buy down, a structured buy down, like a 3-2-1 buy down. You may have heard words like that before. But basically, for the first year, you would lock in a 1.99% rate. For the second year, a 2.99. For the third year, a 3.99. And for the fourth year, moving forward to the rest of your term on the loan, it'd be at 4.99%. So I know the builder is cashing out a lot of money to create incentives like these to bring more buyers into their communities. And the pricing on these homes is not too crazy. I mean, there's a lot more entry level pricing as well if you want, or if you want a bigger home, you could do that as well, and everything in between. But this is a great like new home community, a solid builder in my opinion that is offering incentives like these now. And in fact, on a home that my client is looking to purchase, it because they a lot of the times they're very home specific. So if you want a specific plan or whatnot, they're really going to be pushing their incentives on quick moving homes, which are essentially homes that are ready in 30, 60, sometimes 90 days. So a much shorter timeline. But they're willing to, on this specific situation, because the client's qualified, ready to go, they may extend this incentive to a home they really like that's going to be a little bit further down. So there's stuff like this happening. I mean, great financing opportunities right now, and even some big closing cost credits with certain builders. Which, if you ever reach out to Mark and his team, they'd be able to help you navigate that and see which ones are the best deals in these new home areas. But I think builders, you don't always have to wait till the very end of the year to get a good deal. There's a lot of inventory and wheeling and dealing happening right now. I can probably name 5 off the top of my head that all have rates under that 5.5% range.
But the thing is, will it get better? And that's kind of one of the conversations I have with a lot of people. And they're like, I think they'll even get better. For me, I'm looking at these incentives right now and I'm thinking to myself, like, I don't know how much better they can get. Like, I know the new home builders make great margins in their homes, but with tariffs coming up and everything too, do they basically decide to reduce some pricing? Because I mean, if they start dropping prices, everyone who bought
Well, yeah.
previously is going to be really annoyed. So they
Yeah.
can't really do that. You know what I mean? Like,
So
what do they do? For 6 years, we've been selling new homes in the Sacramento area: Roseville, Rockland, El Dorado Hills, Plymouth Lake, Linda, you name it. We basically sold in that community. And we'd love to work with you. One of the things our team does and most other teams don't do is the fact that the builder will always pay our entire fee. If the builder pays $1 to your agent, that's what we get. Not like these new rules that make you sign a 2.5 or 3% buyer's commission. It takes money out of your pocket if the builder doesn't cover it. We are one of the only teams in the area where the builder pays our entire fee, so you never have to. Reach out to our team and we'll show you why we should be the team that you are definitely working with.
So there is another major builder that just recently decided to pull back on all their incentives, all these interest rate buy downs, all this special financing. And most of their communities, as far as I'm aware, and from what I'm hearing from their reps that we work with, is that across the board, they just decided to pull back on their incentives, all the lower interest rates, stuff like that. They're like, we're done wheeling and dealing with people, trying to give them everything they wanted in the deal. And they just decided to cut the prices a little bit on each community differently. And they're only offering a $5,000 closing cost credit. So they just slashed prices across the board, and each community was a little bit different. The one I was looking at, I think they dropped prices like 20 or 25K on most of their homes. And now they're just doing $5,000 closing cost credit. There's no more incentive besides that. And so that's a strategy. I think also like a market like this and what I've experienced, and I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that because the mindset is, hey, it may get better or it may get worse, if that's one way to say it, is that they're thinking that they want to hedge, and so they're going to get a heck of a deal now. So they're not satisfied any longer with a really good deal, like a 4.99% rate and all their closing costs covered. Now they want more than that. They want more of a rate buy down. They want more of a price cut. And some builders, as far as like what I'm hearing and feeling a little bit because I'm so much in this space with our clients, is that some of them are just becoming like, no, we're not doing that anymore. We're not going that low anymore. We're just going to hold on and, sell them at an appropriate price. So each builders and community is going to respond differently. If it's a highly desirable area, they're not really competing with a million other builders in their neighborhood. They may hold them, they might hold on to their houses a little bit longer. They're not going to be dropping prices or giving the biggest incentives. And others, like for instance, like Lennar, may be just willing to, chop price and do this and that and all the other things to make a deal with you. So just depends.
See, that's the thing for me that's interesting because I know the community, the builder you're talking about, KB, in Elk Grove, they've already got the lowest price point. So lowering
Yeah.
it even more, there's two ways to look at it, right? For me, I look at it, one is they're thinking to themselves, let's get as much stuff off the books as humanly possible. Let's just go, 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 go. Let's sell this stuff. Because they could be fearing a little bit that in the coming months with tariffs, with a slower market, interest rates maybe staying where they're at, they need to get rid of inventory right now in order to kind of like do well this year. I mean, stockholders and everything too. For me, I think that that's a great move. Do I think they needed to do that? It's an interesting strategy. I never even thought about that as far as a builder doing that, because here's the thing. Remember this, a lot of the communities that they're going to drop the price, there's someone probably named Bob who bought a house a month before these prices dropped.
Yeah,
And
for
Bob's
sure.
not going to be too happy and go like, well,
Yeah.
I bought my house for $500,000 and now they're dropped to 475 and now my
Yep.
house is not looking too good. So there's
Yeah.
also going to be a little bit of a blowback happening in that in
Yeah.
that arena
No,
as well too. I
100%.
I would be annoyed, wouldn't you?
And that's why a lot of builders try to hold off on the price cuts as much as possible. It also brings up issues for appraisals, right? So I know this is definitely an issue with Lennar is that, they may sell one house for X and the other one they might do like a really bargaining deal because they're their end of the quarter sales or whatever. But their appraisals are all over the place. And so then buyers are affected because pricing is all over the place for the neighborhood and it's inconsistent. And why a lot of the builders decided to do credits or these special financing incentives is, first of all, a lower interest rate, typically like dropping a percent or two on an interest rate is going to affect someone's monthly payment much more than just dropping it 10, 20, $30,000. It just is. And so that was a much more effective way, but then also they could maintain pricing where it was at. So if the market changed or rates dipped, they could pull back on the incentives and their pricing was still up there, if not growing. So I could see both sides to it. I do like the price cut, like you mentioned, KB did. Um, I kind of like the no, like no more haggling. Like this is our price, this is our bottom line price, this is what we're doing. I kind of like that idea. I think it's going to be a lot easier for their sales reps too because they're not going to be going back and forth with management a million times on what they can do. But yeah, we'll see how it plays out. Overall, they tend to be a little bit more of an affordable builder, like you mentioned in Elk Grove. We've had a few deals there, so I can say that as well.
Now let's talk about the market that seems to not really be too affected by everything going on with the high interest rates and everything too. And the surprising market is the luxury market. The luxury market seems to be churning and burning as if interest rates weren't a big deal, and it just seems to be going. I mean, people love these luxury homes. They're willing to throw down some money even if they have finance. What do you think is that mindset?
Yeah, well, luxury market's a little bit different. I know a lot of people tend to think that luxury market is just going to get hit, if the overall market gets a lot more inventory and things like that. But it's kind of interesting. A lot of these people end up paying cash, first of all, for these properties, so they're not interest rate sensitive. And if they are getting a loan, it's not like they're doing either heavy down payments or they're shifting equity from previous properties, at least in my experience. A lot of the time, someone buying a mill and a half, 2 million plus, a lot of those clients that I've had are typically shifting equity um, from their previous properties. So, there's that thing helping them out a little bit. They've kind of rode the market on one, two, three other homes and kind of now shifting it into their dream home, if you will. So they're not affected as much. Other thing, as I mentioned, the cash deals. I think we are talking off air. I don't have the number in front of me, but I think it's somewhere between 20-25% are still cash deals in the overall market. So there is a portion of buyers that are literally sitting on cash and looking for places to park their money right now, especially in high inflation times. The other part of it too is, you know, typically when we're talking about luxury market and this kind of price point, it's extremely desirable areas that, oh, in the grand scheme of like the long length of time, have done really, really well. So if you mention a market like Serrano, El Dorado Hills, Granite Bay, um, these kind of price points, these areas, they have a lot of demand and a lot of eyes. You'd be surprised how many people call me to live in these neighborhoods, and they tell me sometimes off the bat, like, I don't think I can buy here or afford here, but I would like to, so these areas, they're just known and they have a lot of eyes and a lot of people want to live there. And I totally understand why. But they're always going to have that pull and that attraction. And the other thing too is like, this is what you help a lot of people with, and we do as well, is we relocate a lot of people into the Sacramento region, and they're typically coming from places like the Bay Area, Southern California, sometimes out of state or maybe even out of the country. But when you're coming from the Bay Area, our price point, or what kind of home you get for that 1.5 million or whatever price point you're in, is a lot more house than what you get in the Bay Area, right? It could be that price point could be just for a condo or a very simple small home in the Bay Area, whereas here it's like a McMansion. And so because of that, these areas are still getting a lot of demand. Like I know we have a lot of Bay Area buyers always buying in these luxury markets. And yeah, it doesn't really seem to phase them. Like they feel like the value is there, right? What's your
Well,
take on that?
well, okay, so check this out. For us, what we've been noticing is a lot of the people buying these like luxury homes we've been working with are doctors, but it doesn't seem to be just
Yeah.
like one doctor in the family. It seems like two doctors married or together,
Yeah.
and they're looking to buy a home. They're being moved into the area, whether it's Sutter, whether it's Kaiser, UC Davis. But we're seeing, because we have so many hospitals opening up in the Sacramento area, we're seeing, and we're talking Elk Grove, we're talking Folsom, we're talking everywhere. A lot of people are like looking, hey, you know what? I work there, but I want to live somewhere like a Granite Bay, want to live somewhere in East Sacramento. And we're seeing a lot of these dual income power earners come into the area, and they're saying, like, we really don't have a lot of time to kind of like bicker around or argue or discuss or negotiate. This is the house we want. We're moving in. We're ready to go. Kids need to start school and it's going. And it seems to be less of a concern about like, oh, can we get it for a little lower? Can we get it this? They're more like, we saw it. It looks absolutely gorgeous. We're both ready. We're going to be starting work. We need somewhere peaceful, quiet, and let's make it happen. So a lot of the things is like our market is kind of changing as well too. I mean, we are seeing a lot of tech people come in, a lot of Bay Area as well too. But one of the things I'm seeing left and right are just doctors and nurses coming in that are power earners that are basically like, yeah, I want that $3 million house in Granite Bay. That's the one I want. Let's make it happen. And I think that's kind of changing a little bit of the landscape in the luxury market. And I think that's probably attributes a little bit to also why our luxury market seems to be escaping the whole, like, the shadow of the high interest rates, or, the shadow of the low demand. People still want to live in what house they still want to live in that MTV crib house that they always dreamed of. When they come out here, they see its reality and they just make it happen, which is kind of fun, don't you think?
Yeah, and you mentioned the physicians moving into our area, getting the home that they really want. I've had a lot of experience with physicians. In fact, we have a few in contract right now, and even this last year, we've had a lot move into this area. It seems like a, a popular job to be in. But with that being said, some of them, like at least in my experience, will go to that $2 million home plus whatever it is. They're buying their home that they really love, and a lot of them, like in my experience, are shifting that equity, like I mentioned earlier, from previous homes. Maybe they're sitting on a lot of stocks that they built up over time, and they're kind of later in their careers. Some of the younger physicians that I've been helping out, they actually want to start in a lower price point. So they may get approved for a lot more house, but since they are relocating to a new area, and even if both of them are high income earners, I've had this on multiple occasions, or even over the last year, is they may settle for a lot less house, maybe in a newer area, buy a house with like a special interest rate promo or like a really good deal in an area, and they'll buy a lot less house just because they're just starting out in the area. They want to build their careers here, get the lay of the land of Sacramento, and that's totally okay. So it's mixed. It depends of how much research they've done, how comfortable they feel with it. But you know, what I've noticed too is that some of my clientele, regardless if they're physicians, work in tech, whatever they do, I've had a lot of higher income earners that way underbought on the type of house they could afford, which is sometimes a good thing. So it just depends on the type of person and kind of where they're coming from and their outlook on market. But there is those people too that they're still, approved for crazy buckos, but way under buying, and they're comfortable with the house that they're getting.
All right. I promised the people that we'd run over some statistics as well too to show you guys what the market's looking like right now. Now, here's one of the main reasons I brought Sam on to talk a little bit about the market. Sam and I are two teams in the Sacramento area, and we do a lot of business for relocations, new homes, luxury. I mean, every single kind of market. And the other thing about Sam, just like our team is, he covers all of the Sacramento metro. So it's fun when I have someone like Sam on the show because we both can kind of relate to like driving to Davis one day, driving to Elk Grove the next day, to Rockland and Granite Bay. And it's nice to get a snapshot of all these areas. Most realtors will just know one space, like Folsom or like a
Yeah.
Rockland or like a Davis. And when I have
Yeah.
Sam and I talk to Sam a little bit about these things, he gets what I'm talking about. If I talk to him about new homes, he's pretty much showing them in West Roseville, Rockland, Lincoln, you name it, and we can kind of talk a little bit about it. And that's kind of why I wanted to bring him on specifically because, like I said, if you're looking for a great realtor, a great team, Sam's awesome. But he also has a good take on the entire market in the Sacramento metro. And I do think that when we talk about our market, you need to know what's happening in all these spots, all these various suburbs and everything too, to get a little bit of a vantage point as the market as a whole, and so that's kind of where we're going to run into the stats. So tell us what we're seeing right here, Sam.
Yeah. So thanks for that great intro. I wish I recorded that for myself. But yeah, it's true. A lot of people maybe don't get the experience. It's a different experience when you have a lot of clientele all buying in different markets at any given time. Like
Yeah.
I'm looking at my board right here of all the homes we have under contract, and there's at least 5, 6, 7 different cities on there. So it's a good healthy mix, but then you also kind of recognize that every market is not the same in Sacramento. Right. And so you kind of like once you start focusing on where you want to live, where you want to buy, and doing the city comparison, is that each one is responding very differently to the current market conditions. And so that's why in the beginning of this show, when we kind of talked about it, I said, the market's a little bit of a mixed bag right now. Some areas is boom, it's hot, it's selling right away. Others are taking longer, lagging a little bit, maybe even a little bit in the red zone right now, which we'll talk about pricing here in a second. But on this graph right here, so this is Sacramento, Placer, El Dorado counties combined, just to give a very high level approach as to where inventory is at, or homes for sale on the market, going under contract, or that have sold. So on this one, you'll see that light green bar at the top, and it'll kind of go up and then down, pivot, and then peak again right there. So that's where we're at right now as far as last month in May. That's the last numbers that we have through our local MLS. So 4,128 homes this last month were for sale on the market. Now, just looking at this graph, you can see that it's a lot higher right now than it was literally 12 months ago right there. Mark has it zoomed in 6 months back. But that light green bar, you see that last year it kind of took off and then it dipped down, I think, right around December, January of this year. And so that bar just dips, and then it's just been upward trending since basically the beginning of this year till now, essentially like 6 months. Okay. 5, 6 months. And so we actually have 46.5% more homes on the market than we did exactly this time last year. So if you're comparing like right now, let's say late spring market going into summer, we have 46% more homes for sale on the market, which is a huge change. And so that's why people are feeling it when they're seeing all these properties out there. They're like, whoa, what's going on? Because 46% increase is a massive change to happen in essentially 12 months. Okay. So when we were saying that there's a lot more options out there, I mean, that's what the numbers are showing. Now, it's very neighborhood specific when we go, micro, but this can kind of show you why Sacramento maybe feels like it's a little bit lagging in certain markets. And you may see that, those big headlines of like, oh, prices are reducing or this and that. Well, yeah, because there's so much more homes on the market. Buyers have more to choose from. They're going to negotiate which one's going to be a better deal, right? Now, to correspond with that, like we've always been talking about over the last couple of years, every realtor, would say that, oh, we don't have enough inventory on the market. We don't have enough inventory on the market. Well, I could say that we're finally definitely getting enough, if not too much inventory on the market. And the
Yeah.
reason I say that is if you see that red line right there, that's the homes pending or the homes going under contract. Okay. So that red line, even if you just see that there is an uptick this year of homes going under contract, but over the length of time over the last 12 months, it looks kind of flat. It's up and down, sure, month over month, it picks up here and there, goes down a little bit. But like if you look at it generally compared to the green line, it looks a lot more flat and stabilized. And so what does that mean? That homes under contract or going pending are still kind of around here. So the interest level is still kind of around here. Whereas at the same time, the inventory amount of homes for sale is basically like going up dramatically. So that's why you're feeling that lull in the market. It's because a lot of buyers haven't necessarily come into the market and they're like, okay, awesome. There's finally more homes for sale. We're going to come in and buy. So that huge push of buyers has never came in to essentially gobble up all these homes hitting the market. All right. Does that make sense? Kind of supply and demand
Well,
at
check
its
this out though.
basics.
This
Yeah.
is interesting too. Okay, so this is right now. This is right now, May, our May,
Yep.
right? And this is
Hmm.
May, what's called a year ago. And if you look at that right there, look how many more houses, how many houses there are in the market this year. And if you look at as far as the houses that are pending, there's just maybe 15 more this year from last year. But if you also look over here at the sold, there's actually more homes that were sold last May.
Last May, 12 months ago, was 1,724. So that's actually a 7.5% dip over the last 12 months if we're comparing month to month. So that's another thing, like homes actually selling is slightly less. So it's not like the amount of homes selling or going under contract has increased because more homes came to the market. Like that has not happened.
Well, okay, so let's hit the homes that are coming to the market. A lot of those homes I've seen in I've seen a few times within the last year and a half. Different photos, different furniture. I've seen these
Different
houses and they keep
relistings,
yes,
the same house is relisted
different
3 times. Yeah.
different realtors. Yeah, and it just seems
Yeah.
to be them. So for me, I've been telling people too, I'm like, it's not like you're seeing a whole bunch of new listings every Friday and we're getting this great stuff. It's kind of piling up at this point. It's just
Yeah.
kind of stacking up. You have a little mix of those 2.75. You have a mix of the investors that are trying to unload their portfolios, and it's just kind of stacking up, right?
A little bit, yeah. Yeah, I totally see that where it's like almost old inventory, sometimes even unexciting inventory that's hitting the market and it's just kind of there. Right now, like the homes that are selling, like we were talking a little bit earlier, like the homes that are in demand, honestly, it's about the price, the condition, and the location. Like those three always will sell a home: price, condition, and location. So maybe you're not in the best condition on the home. Well, you gotta make your price adjust for that. And it's not just enough, let's say you got a couple $1,000s of repairs to do. You're not gonna just drop the home by a couple $1,000s. That's not gonna incentivize anyone because if they're gonna just get it for a couple $1,000 discount and then have to still do that work to the property, they're gonna be like, why am I doing this? Right? Just like anybody else, if they're gonna buy a property that's gonna need some love, like they're gonna want to buy it at a little bit better of a deal for putting in the work, right? You're
Oh,
gonna have to price it
yeah.
accordingly. Same thing with like location. So if there's 5 other listings on the market in your neighborhood, you now know you need to compete on price, right? If your home is not the most, let's say, beautiful remodeled one that's top notch, then you have to adjust on the price. And that's just how it is, unfortunately. So that's something to take into consideration if you guys, if you're a homeowner out there, you're thinking about selling your house this year, you're gonna have to need to consider like, hey, what's on the market around me or what's coming up to the market around me, and you're gonna adjust for that because certain markets have gotten hit when there's 5+ listings on the market in a specific neighborhood, those sellers are going to be dropping their price, especially if they need to sell.
Selling your home shouldn't be a guessing game. We've used one tool to sell homes again and again, our YouTube channel. It's the biggest in Sacramento, and buyers are watching every single day. One video, thousands of views. One sold home. It's a pattern we've seen work time and time again. Our team doesn't just list, we market, promote, and sell. Reach out today and let's get started on selling your home with a strategy that works. If you listed your house maybe like 3 or 4 months ago at a price point, interest rates really haven't fluctuated that much. This is kind of the same type of market. Yes, it's a different time of the year, and yes, there's a little bit more demand. But I guess what I'm saying is, like, if you're going to relist at the exact same price, you're probably going to have the exact same results.
Yeah,
So
for
you
sure.
got to think aggressive pricing at this point. If you put it on the
Yeah.
market, interest rates are 7%, and you're listing at $1 million, and you get like goose egg, no showings, no calls, and anything too. And you say, hey, you know
Yeah.
what? We're going to take it off the market. We're going to throw it back on the market in 4 months. 4 months from now, it's 7%. And you're throwing it at the same price point. Like, you could
Yep.
probably say, I mean, it could even be worse results, to be honest.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just understand that aggressive pricing for me, like you said, location, but aggressive pricing, you got to be smart about your pricing, and don't just think because you have additional photos, because the description is different, because
Yeah.
ChatGPT helped you out with that
Right.
it's going to
Right.
have this different results. For the most part, you're
Yeah.
just putting the same boat in the water, and you're probably going to get the exact same results you got
Yeah.
before, don't you
Yeah.
think?
I totally agree with that. The other thing too is like pricing too high because you want to get your money out of it. So I just had this conversation with one of our home buyers that's looking to buy a house in Folsom. This house has been on the market for probably close to 3 months, and it's
Okay.
gone through at least 3, 4 different price cuts. Started at like 669. Now they're down to about 630, 635. So that's a pretty significant price cut over multiple cuts. And essentially, I told my clients because they were a little bit worried. They're like, "Why is this house not selling? Why is it sitting? I mean, it's a nice house. It's moving ready. It's ready to go. Great price point to be in Folsom, as a first-time home buyer." And so they were a little bit skeptical about it. And I said, "Look, they overpriced in the beginning, and now they're in a situation where I call chasing the market. If you price a little bit too high versus the comparable sales that have happened in the last 30, 60, 90 days, we can no longer compare pricing from a year, year and a half plus ago to now. It is a different market. It is different pricing. And so you have to kind of see what's actually been selling in your neighborhood in the last 30 to 60 days. Hopefully, if you can find those comparable sales and be more competitive. And especially if there's 1 or 2 or more homes for sale nearby as well, you're going to have to adjust for that. And so these people essentially overlisted the home. And the agent, when I had the conversation, actually admitted to overlisting the home, and she knew it. But they went through a period called what I call chasing the market. And that's when you're already going price cut after price cut. Because essentially, as you know, Mark, being a pro and listing houses all the time, is that after that first 2 weeks on the market, maybe into the third week on the market, the activity generally slows down dramatically. The showings slow
Yep.
down dramatically. So if you're going to get a buyer, you got to get them in the door in that first week or two. Hopefully, that'll be your best timing to get your actual price.
I also think the idea that a lot of people don't factor in carrying costs. They're saying to
Yeah,
themselves, they're
that's
reducing,
true.
they've been on the market for 3 months. All of a sudden, you got like utility costs, maintenance, making the house look pretty. And believe me, that is a cost. Like,
Yeah,
there's so many costs that you are starting to accrue that all of a sudden you're saying to yourself, maybe we should have just started with that reduced price and just gotten rid of this thing really, really
yeah,
fast. Then we wouldn't have
yep,
had all these carrying costs. So, I mean, there's so many
yeah,
different things to factor in. I always say also, if you're working with a realtor to sell your home, you got to trust them. Trust their instincts to do the job right. Don't go with someone who's just going to tell you what you want to hear. Hey, you want $1 million for a house, even though I think it'll sell for 900. Let's do it.
If the conversation is like, let's just list it and see what happens, I mean, it's probably not the move for this market right now. So this will kind of just show you the changes, kind of like we talked about. 46.5% increase in
Oof.
homes for sale over the last, comparing it from this last month to 12 months ago. So it's just a month to month comparison. Now, if you go down one line, it's a 7.5% decrease on the amount of homes that actually sold. Okay. And then below that, it's a 0.9% increase in homes that actually went under contract. So relatively flat, about the same amount of homes that sold last May versus this May. So, I mean, that 46% is really the big jump here, is just showing people like how much more inventory, how many more homes we are actually dealing with And that's why when we're saying this conversation to homeowners out there that are thinking about selling their home, like, you really got to be priced more competitively. So you got to know your local market. You got to kind of expect that. The sky's not falling. You're not, you're not losing your investment and all the equity you had, but it is going to be a little bit more competitive of a market. Now, on that note, one thing I wanted to mention that we were previously talking about is that aside from these stats and, all these numbers, we're probably boring some people out there, but this is also like opportunity. One thing I'm seeing right now, and Mark, you could probably attest to this, is that because there's more homes on the market, because things are moving a little bit slower, it's also creating opportunity for those homeowners that have been sitting on their homes and wanted to sell and buy at the same time a while back. But a couple of
Mm,
years ago, the market was so hot, that was essentially, honestly, close to impossible. Because if you needed to sell your home in order to buy the next one, no one really wanted to take that offer. It was a lot harder to get that home under contract because things were moving so fast. Homes that were on the market had multiple offers. Why would they take an offer that needs to still sell their current home? So it would be a little bit of a sticky situation. But now things moving a little bit slower. There's more houses to choose from. Builders and other homeowners are now open to what's called contingent offers. And so, like, I
yep.
even have 3 contracts going right now where we're helping the homeowner sell their property, get those funds, and simultaneously close on their next home, their property that they actually want to be in. In fact, I'm going to be closing on one like that tomorrow in Whitney Ranch, where they sold their house in the Sacramento Natomas area, and it's kind of their first starter house that they bought as a new build years back. Now they've got some opportunity. We were able to negotiate it, get their home sold, and at the same time get the builder to accept, their offer essentially on the new build. And so now they're just selling and buying at the same time without having to go into a rental, Airbnb, and stuff like that. So it's a good way to shift equity, and there's a lot more opportunity for those contingent sales right now if you guys are out there and thinking about that.
You know what the funny thing is? Like, we have a bunch of people right now that have actually bought new homes, and I think now they're eyeing the bigger models. Because
Mm,
I've seen Sacramento's square footage. I mean, it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So I have
yeah.
a couple clients that are actually in contingent deals with the builders as well too, and so they're ready to go as well too. So yeah, no, it's an interesting market. I mean, for me, I look at it like, let's say for example, like, and I'm good with my house, but let's say for example, I was going to look to buy. I would be looking at towards the assumables. I love the assumables. That's what I do. There was one in Cameron Park that was 2.75. You could assume the loan, FHA. Those are the ones I think a lot of people are also not really aware of, and I always tell people, go to Zillow and type in assumable, and you'll see if there's any properties that qualify for that. But those I think are like the real, some of the gold in the market that people are, because a lot of people are like, you know what, interest rates are too high. I'm just not even dealing with it. But I mean, if you could find a suitable loan, 2.75. I mean, let me ask you, would you buy if you could find a assumable? And I know you're looking at like a Folsom or a Rockland or something, a 2.75 FHA assumable loan. If you could find that on your dream home, would you go for it?
Oh yeah. I mean, today, I mean, I was mentioning on this show earlier how one of the builders was given that really low entry rate for 1.99 on the first year, right?
Uh-huh.
And then the last year capped out at 4.99 for the rest of the loan. Where are you going to find a loan right now under 5%? You're not, unless you're doing a really heavy buy down. So even those opportunities definitely get my mind going, like maybe I'll just pick up another one. I think those are some great incentives right now. But yeah, on the assumable loans, I think that is an opportunity out there. One hurdle that I've kind of run into with certain clients on those is that a lot of times when realtors are marketing assumable loan, this low rate, yada, 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 they fail to mention what the actual loan balance is, right?
Mhm.
So if you're buying a house, like Mark's price point's probably like 2 million and the loan balance is like 200,000. Well, that assumable loan is kind of useless right now, right?
Yeah.
And so a lot of realtors just, to clear the air for some of you guys out there, some are using it as a marketing tactic and
Yep.
it's not necessarily, you know, as beneficial to you, or it's not really like the deal that you think it's going to be. So just heads up, you do want to check out what the current loan balance is and what the actual amount is compared to what they're trying to sell the property for. So it's a big difference there.
Well, I think you got to work with a good realtor to find that stuff out for you so you
Oh
don't get
yeah,
all
that's easy
excited.
for sure. For sure. Yeah. But some
All right.
people
So
they call me, they're like, check out this assumable loan house. And the loan balance is so low. I'm like, this is not gonna help you much. I'm just letting you know.
Ooh,
right?
there's one in Cameron Park, man. It was like 1.2 assumable,
Someone's
so
gonna be
nice.
researching that right after this
I
video.
know, I know, I know. Oh, hey, there are some gems, there are some ways to kinda make this market work for you. So what are
Yeah.
we looking at here?
So on this graph, this is going to be just average price per square foot. Now, I know I got some of my clients who really love the average price per square foot. Now, to me, this trend is a good one to keep an eye on, but it's not the end all be all. I'd rather go into the actual pricing. But just for some of you guys that love it, you could keep it there. $353 is your average price per square foot across Sacramento, Placer, El Dorado counties. So we're at 353 a square foot. That's only about a 1.7 increase versus 12 months ago. So exactly a year ago, it's only 1.7 increase. So you can even see on that graph, price per square foot just kind of like was flat, kind of took a little dip down and is right back. So more or less, and I'll prove it in this next graph here a little bit, the market's looking a little bit flat on the price per square foot, 1.7% increase. So this is your actual pricing for the local market. You got your average active price, which is that green bar on the top, average sold price, which is the red in the middle, and then the median sold price, which is the number I really like in the blues. Okay, and so your median sold price is actually this last month at $600,000. So that's your median price, your kind of middle range price for the Sacramento region as far as counties that we're looking at. Crazy part here is it was 600,000 exactly 12 months ago. So it's gone
Yeah.
through some bumps and some changes you could see on those blue bars, ups and downs a little bit. But last year, this time of the year, it was exactly $600,000. So market, again, like I said earlier, is kind of showing a little bit flat. Okay. Now, why am I saying this? I think people are also kind of feeling this a little bit, to where they're like, hey, prices aren't necessarily increasing. They may even be decreasing in certain neighborhoods. But this kind of flatness, I think also sometimes keeps people from holding back because they're kind of feeling like, oh, I don't know, it's a little bit uneasy. So that's just one thing to consider. But at the end of the day, like the market can change, it's rates and inventory based. If we jump up to the average sold price this last month was 690,000 for the month. That's
Yep.
only showing about a 1.3% increase over the last 12 months. So 1.3% is not a whole lot. So again, that kind of correlates with my point. I just said more or less pretty flat on the pricing.
I think those days of crazy appreciation might be gone, especially for now. But
Yeah.
my biggest thought on this whole thing is that, like, this is gonna be this way as long as interest rates stay around, like, 7%. But like I said on my show last Wednesday, the second interest rates hit a certain number, I think we're gonna have a surge again. I think all of a sudden
Yeah.
it's gonna be business as usual because I think right
Yep.
now, there is going to be that number, and we might not hit it this year. We might not hit it next year, but eventually we're gonna hit that number where everything flips again. Interest
Yep.
rates get very tempting. Everyone is so excited, and all of a sudden it's gonna be a feeding frenzy. So any buyers out there who are thinking, I'm gonna wait until the market crashes, it's not gonna crash. Will there be optimal moments and better moments than not to buy? Probably. Like I say, I always say time your life, don't time the market. It's hard in this type of market, but just so you guys know, like Sam was saying, it's not completely bleak. Will it get better towards the end of the year? It might. I mean, there's a good chance. I mean, like I said, builders love those end of the year deals. I don't know. So also, if you're looking for a certain house, if you're looking for a certain community, you don't know when the next time a house like that might come up. You know what I mean, Sam?
Yeah. Yeah. But define, better conditions, because better conditions could be for some person, rates got higher, inventory went higher. Now pricing is going lower. For someone, that in their mind is a better situation. But then also to get mentally focused during that time when you're seeing like kind of blood in the streets, is that, are you going to actually buy during that time when it's optimal, right? It's kind of like same thing with stocks. When stocks are down, not many people are motivated to buy, but at the same time, that is the optimal time to buy.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's a good point to consider as well, is that people are always like, we need a market crash, we need this, we need that, well, then we'll buy. But I can tell you, if that ever does happen, or if things really do get worse, you may be having second thoughts on jumping in as well. So it's one of those things. It's a little bit of an endless cycle, I think, with some people, and has a lot to do with psychological outlook, in my opinion.
For me, I look at it this way. Spring, summer, usually those are our highest demand type of things, right? Usually it's
Yeah.
crazy Bay Area buyers
Yeah.
calling up any realtor will tell you it's a little lull. It's a little slow.
Yeah.
So as a lot of these people are seeing, a lot of the people who are looking to buy, they're seeing all of a sudden, like, this number increase. And all of a
Yeah.
sudden they're saying, well, if we stay at a 7% interest rate, there's no big push for me to buy right now. There's not that big, you got to buy right now
Yeah.
or
Oh, for
else.
sure. Yeah. There
So if that number, like I said, like if we get into August, if we get in October, November, December, rainy season, normally the colder time of the year, and all of a sudden this thing turns from a 4 to maybe like a 5 or something, and all of a sudden
Yeah, that would
demand
be
goes a little
crazy.
lower, it could be a more optimal time for a person that sees what they want to buy.
Yeah.
Because I do think also, like, I know I'm always about like, like, could it get better or worse or whatnot? But I also think it depends on what you want to buy, right? I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
back in the day, is 2.75. I was still hunting for the right house for myself. I bought eventually at a 4% interest rate because I was still waiting for that right house. I'd say right now, figure out what that right house looks like, don't you think?
Yeah, and then, like, the other part too is, like, we're talking about, is it gonna get better, like, more inventory, better deals, etcetera, but, like, you have this graph up right now, and if you just look at the trend, so from the beginning of that graph on the left side, the inventory, the amount of homes for sale trends up, and then it takes a dip right around November to December time. So that's a natural trend that happens typically year over year as well. Whereas sellers, they understand this. Homeowners understand this. Hey, it's not the selling season. So unless they really need to, their house is going to be on the market. But if they don't really need to sell, or they're kind of trying to go with the times, the spring, season, the buying season, they're going to also pull their houses back off the market as well. Like, I've experienced that many times, you probably have as well. People naturally understand, like, hey, once we start going into that fall holiday season, the people they want to make that move, but it's not necessarily like they have to right now, they may pull their house off the market as well. And you can see that in this trend.
You didn't mention the word reducing. You're mentioning the word pulling off the market. So for me, I'm thinking the same thing, like it's going to be interesting, but that's going to be inventory that eventually someone's going to need to sell, whether it
Yeah.
pops up next year. And all of a sudden we see this number increase as well, too, if interest rates stay at
Yeah.
7. Like I said, there's no like a definitive buy, sell, or anything
Yeah.
too. It's just the idea that if interest rates stay at 7%, you know, the market is going to definitely be affected by it. Could buyers
Yeah.
get a better deal towards the end of this year? Yeah. But at the same time, just understand that the deal might be looking you square in the face. You just got to
Yep.
evaluate if this is the time for you or not. Evaluate your job
Yeah.
situation and everything too.
Yep.
And hopefully, like, these numbers helped you. And Sam, thank you for bringing all these numbers and going through
Yeah.
it and giving us a little bit of your point of view. It's pretty nice touching base with you online again.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to let you guys know too as well, like, there's no perfect time to buy a house, and we especially are not pushing for someone to buy a house. We're still doing a lot of transactions. There's still a lot of people that are definitely motivated regardless. And everyone has different outlooks on the market conditions. Some people feel, that I talk to, they feel like it's a great time. They already feel like the slowdown is here. Why not take advantage? Others, we have a lot of clients as well that are kind of sitting on their hands, just watching, just watching, just watching. And that's okay. There's no pressure to buy or not. Everyone's in different seasons of life and has different motivations. For some people, kids are starting school, they want to be in a better school district. That is a very serious motivation, regardless of an extra couple $1,000s in savings, right? Someone's relocating. Well, either they're going to be in a rental for the next 12 months, or they could just buy. So everyone has different outlooks on that, and it's totally okay. I have some of my clients that relocated into Sacramento, and they want to rent for a couple months first to kind of get a lay of the land. Others are like, we don't want to move twice. We'll just buy it right now. Everyone's, got different flows and what they want to do as far as buying. There's no rush to do it. Houses, I think, will always be around.
Well, yeah, I think you're completely right about that. And I think that, like, hopefully this video gave you a little bit of the lay of the land of what we're looking at right now. The market situation, new homes, resale, luxury, and all that kind of fun stuff, so that you can take this education piece of it, mull it over, figure out if the timing is right for you. And then, talk to your family, talk to your friends, figure out what you're going to do. But hopefully this is a piece of the puzzle that'll help you make the decision whether to buy or not to buy, whether to wait or not to wait, because this is pretty much where we are right now. So what do you guys think? Is it a good time to buy a home in Sacramento, California in 2025? Let us know in the comments below. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button. It would mean a lot to me and the YouTube algorithm. My buddy Sam Golovey also has a YouTube channel. I put it in the description below. Make sure to check it out. He releases a lot of great videos, new home communities, luxury communities, really well produced videos and great information. Now guys, if you are thinking about making the move to the Sacramento area and you have some questions or you're looking for a team to work with, please reach out to our team. We'd love to talk to you a little bit about Sacramento, show you why I fell in love with the area. There's a Zoom link below. Click on that. We'll set up a time to talk and answer any questions you have about the Sacramento area. Now, if you're someone in Sacramento and you're thinking about selling your home and you don't want just those normal realtors that bake the good cookies, put out the signs, cross their fingers, and hopefully it'll sell, guys, we don't list homes, we sell them through YouTube marketing. We'd love to work with you, so reach out as well. Now, one last thing before I go, there's a playlist right over there of more videos that I've done just for you about the Sacramento area. Education is key. Those videos are definitely going to help you get pointed in the right direction as far as answering any questions you have about the Sacramento area. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Remember, smash that like button. Until the next video, this is Mark. Have a good one.